Nothing we say is investment advice. Please pause on all 3 pages of this disclaimer and read it.
Good morning, everybody. Cowboy here. It is Tuesday, September the 23rd at 8:30 a.m. EST. We have a little news data coming out here. I think it's in an hour. Let's see the ISMs for the U.S. talked about yesterday on the weekly update. That's actually going to be at 9:45 a.m. EST. So in an hour and 15 minutes, more data will come out, and whatever trades you're doing against the dollar may be affected. What trade might not be affected? Probably gold. Gold just goes up, and it's been just going up. If I back out here, it's gone from August from 3,300 up to almost 800. So that's huge. That's like I don't know, 14% or something. Let's see what percent that really is. That's just like me in my head doing math, but 14.5%. Okay, guess I'm pretty close on that. So yeah, massive move. If you wanted to, at this point, I don't see enough of a pullback for me to consider doing any kind of like one-to-one measured move or anything like that. I could do some Fibonacci calculations, but in reality, all eyes are on 4,000. And so a couple things can happen. Now, I don't know that we're going to see 4,000 this week. If we continued along this trajectory after this breakout, this is a pretty long consolidation from April up until August. That's a long time. So if we were to continue on that trajectory, then by early October, we should see 4,000. Now, this could panic up or it could take a break. You do a lot of different things, but I've been saying it for a very long time. I think we see 4,000 by the end of the year. Very, very likely prior to or I should say after the end of this year, during the beginning of next year, early 2026. 4,000, in my opinion, is all but a certainty. Very likely before the end of the year, though. Very likely. So that said, that's what I expect. And right now, what you're looking at, I mean, it's just all the dips being bought. You had a little bit of a dip. This is on the 3-hour chart, by the way. Price tried to dip right about 37.60, immediately bought up. Just bought up right away. So if you want to go play around on the lower time frames, you certainly can. Of course, we have price kind of flagging off right here, and it could easily just start taking off again. So I would look for on this, I would keep it really simple. I'd look for a breakout, and I might consider buying it depending on what the algo's set, right? Nice little range forming right there. You could have this really as the top of your range, to be safe. And then once the algos indicate the price is ready to take off once again, that might be the time to do it. And it could be as soon as that hour and 15-minute mark when we get that news coming out here in the next short little while. So keep that in mind. And that's gold. Gold just headed up. Interesting stuff. Let's take a brief look again at the news. What else do we have today? Just PMIs and some Australian data. And then tomorrow, not a lot. So tomorrow is probably a nice kind of a morning to trade as long as there's some volatility. And we should be back into where we see regular volatility or somewhat regular volatility, not having to wait for news events or wait for August to end or September to kind of get that first part through all this things, waiting for FOMC, waiting for this, waiting for that. That time should be more or less over. What's also been really doing well is the NASDAQ. And as I say, markets must go up, except for when they don't. So we are looking now at the NASDAQ. It is flagging out a bit, just taking a break right here on these all-time highs, and these all-time highs were hit yesterday. So the market just continued up after the open yesterday, and we're looking at price in a very tight range the last day or so between 24,975 and 25,030. So which way might this break? Let's take a look at the algos. I mean, I can tell you they are bullish. There's always that chance that there is a pullback just to grab some liquidity. If I had to bet, though, I would say it's probably just going to continue up. But let's talk about where that might go. Let's see here. Pretty tough to call this one too. It's barely pulled back. I mean, we could use some tools here if we want to. Again, on my weekly assessment, I just have trajectories because this is just bullish. But if I were to look at breakout targets, I'd look at 26,000 or just below that, and then maybe 25,200 or just below that. Those are the targets I'd look at on a breakout trade for the NASDAQ. If I were to look for a pullback, if price were to break to the downside, very likely to 24,940 or as low as 24,890. So these are the possible sort of paths. Either it's going to, break out to the upside and grab one or both of these targets right here. And of course, there are other things it could do besides the two things I'm going to draw, but these are, in my opinion, the most likely is a move down, maybe just a 382 pullback and then up, or it could even dump as low as this prior high that I mentioned here at 24,885. And the 382 pullback, the actual price on that is 24,920. So these are just your most likely paths. And again, there are infinite different things it could do, but those are the most likely that I see. Let's take a look before we head off to the private live lab. We'll take a look at Bitcoin. I did tell Algo Factory yesterday that I think Bitcoin will make its way down to about 100 and 108. 107 is a stronger support, but it may not get past like 108. We'll see what happens with that. Right now, it is still bearish. So on the way down, it might have some sharp moves up. That can happen, right? But this was what I drew just like right after Monday opened. We didn't have a lot of data. It's more or less following it. It is holding right now above 11,530 though. Right now, this blue line seems to be where it's grabbing some footing. I don't know how long that is going to last. I'll take a brief look at the algos here. Yeah, I think there's a decent chance we see it move down. Maybe not as quickly as I drew, but maybe as quickly as I drew. We'll see about it. It could do a lot of different things, but I think ultimately in the next week or two, it's going to end up down around the 108 level. Again, I don't know if it's going to make it all the way down to this 107,243 support. It may or may not make it down there. Depends how sharp this move down is. But this was definitely a washout over Sunday night. Nice washout. So we'll see. We'll see about it. I'm going to go ahead and jump over. Well, no, we got a little bit of time. I'm going to look at the liquidity for Bitcoin. Let's see if that's going to tell us anything. Give me 1 second there. Okay. Getting the advertisements. Okay, so most liquidity is up high. There's a little liquidity down at the 105 area. For now, I don't see price going there. If price did head back up, a lot of liquidity is sitting between 115.8 and 117. So 115.8 and 117. $115.8 and 117. So here's a little box where that is, more or less. So if price did pop up, it might grab this, right? If it popped up right away, I'd say it's going to grab it on the way down. And then if this liquidity stayed here over the next few days, then it might head down and eventually make its way back up to there. But there is this magnet for price, but the algos are still kind of bearish. So there would have to be a pretty strong pop up. And it could happen. It's very possible that you could see, if there was a quick pop up, I think it would head back down. But as the as time goes on, the more pop-ups you have, the more price becomes stable, the more likely it is to go sideways. So this event could change the entire dynamic. But right now, primary thesis is down to 108 for Bitcoin. So that's how we do. Every time the clock ticks, all this stuff changes. So what looked like it was going to do, what it looked like it would do yesterday may not be what it looks like it's going to do today. And our job as traders is to formulate a hypothesis, but then as the market ticks on and we get more data, we have to make sure that we're managing the trade based on that hypothesis. And we have to have I have a very simple rule for me, and I'll leave you guys with this as we go into the private live lab. If the reason I got into the trade is no longer there, then I don't stay in the trade. See what I'm saying? So usually for me, there are well, really for any professional trader, there are conditions that line up that say, okay, I can take this trade, right? And if those conditions no longer exist, then I am out of the trade. Now, there are traders who will just stick with the trade. And, if their back testing says that that's the thing to do, then that's what they should do, right? It really depends on what all your testing has told you. For me, if the reason to be in the trade is no longer there, I'm out. Simple as that. So if we get a pop-up like this, then my thesis may change as to what is going to happen to Bitcoin. But for now, as it stands, 108 area would be a good sweep. Nice sweep of the lows. That's what it looks like is going to happen. We'll see. All right. Well, thank you all for watching. We do this Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 8:30 a.m. EST. And come on over. By the way, get your free algo link is in the description. All right. So you click on that and you'll be given an algo immediately. And we'll also let you know when we're going to do things like we did last Thursday. We had Miko on and he traded through for, I think it was like 2.5 hours. We watched him trade the New York session, which is very interesting. He's got a pretty cool method of trading. We're going to do a few more things that are like that coming up. So if you get the free algo, then we'll also keep you on that list and say, hey, we're going to do this on that day. Come join us. And that way you know what's going on. Thanks for watching. Never forget.
Join us or die.
Just kidding. You're not going to die. We love you.